So you people are able to see the whiteboard, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay. So now we will start our discussion. Okay. So last class, so if you remember, you see, we were discussing this lateral torsion buckling. Okay. So we have solved, many problems, you see, in this lateral torsional buckling. So we have done, I think, by both, the energy methods you can use, or you can go with, the equations of equilibrium. Okay, so you can solve this also. But only thing is, so if you want to solve by equations of equilibrium, say, so in many cases, you may not be able to get, the closed form solution. So you have to use this infinite series expansions or something. So you will come up with some, the approximate numbers itself. Okay, so this you have to see. And then in the energy methods, say, the easy, so this is a very little bit easy. The only thing is you have to assume this correct mode shape. Okay. So if you can assume the correct mode shape, say, then you followed, right, you will be able to get the answer itself. So last class, we were seeing, a very interesting problem, which is simply supported beam. Okay. So which is under its dead load. Okay. So dead load is generally modeled as, a UDL kind of a thing. Then we have, a concentrated load also. So both of them were there in our last class. So, and of course, the cross section is a doubly symmetric cross section, and the load is acting at the top flange. Okay, it is not acting at the centroid. So this also we said in our last class. Okay, so this problem, how do we solve these type of problems? See, as already I told you, the strain energy is going to remain same. Okay, the strain energy, it is very easy to, the calculate in all the, in all the problems. But when you come to this work done by the load, say, okay, so there are several ways are there. So one is, you calculate load P anyway is there. So you calculate deflection, say, under the load. Okay. So deflection means not the deflection what we are talking about. So deflection due to, this buckling. So this you calculate like previous class we have solved, and then you multiply, say, P times W naught kind of a thing, and then you will get the work done by your load itself. Or otherwise is you write some bending moment diagram, say, okay. So you get this bending moment diagram, and you can use, this example. Okay, that so bending moment work done by any movement will be given by, say, m into theta kind of a thing. So this also you can use whichever is easy, say. Okay, so you try, you followed it, that itself, and you can solve the problem itself. Okay, so I think last class we already wrote all the, all the derivations and the work done by the load, say. Okay, so this I think we wrote as 0 to L. So you have mx, so u double dash phi dz. And then this is the one more extra term will come because, the load is not applied at the centroid. Okay. So whole square. So this was our expression. Okay. So which we wrote in our last class. So this is mx into theta only. But theta, what did we write? I think you remember. So, so u double dash actual. Okay, so this is you followed it. So this is nothing but your curvature kind of a thing. So which is nothing but, you see, d theta by dz kind of a thing you have. So you can write d theta as, u double dash into dz. Okay, so this is your rotation, whereas this quantity mx into phi comes from that my. Okay, so previous class we already wrote mx into phi kind of a thing. Okay, so this is our bending moment. So this is the work done by the load itself. Now, so here in this problem, so you have common two bending moments are there. One coming from the UDL, other one is coming from the concentrated load. Okay. So I think this also we wrote in our last class. Okay. So this was our expression. So WL square by 2. So generally, so here you followed it. We have written as a, Z by L kind of a thing. If you want, you can do the older version also. Okay. So there is no difference. And of course, the bending moment due to P also. So this also we wrote. But here, you have to be very careful because bending moment on this side, that side will be different. So, so these two, you have to split the integral into two pieces actually. Okay. So this is valid, Z by L less than or equal to L by 2, and of course this is, L by 2 less than or equal to Z by L, less than or equal to L. So these are our bending moments. Okay. So now, as already we told, so you take sine pi z by L because it is simply supported. And let us say in warping also you have same as simply supported conditions. Say. So B sine pi z by L. Okay. So you substitute, you calculate all the derivatives and all other things. They are very easy because you have sine and cos, and all of right, sine and cos have this orthogonality principle will come, so it will be easy to calculate these equations. So finally I think we wrote this in our last class. So u plus v, say, with respect to a is equal to 0, then u plus v, okay, with respect to b. So this also is equal to 0. So you get, I think, the determinant of a matrix. Okay, this also I think we wrote in our last class. So e iy by 2l cube. So this is the first term, and then you have negative point some 5362 times w times l plus 0.8668 times p. Then this term is same, I think, okay, because of symmetry. So 0.5362 times wl plus 0.8668 times p. And here you have some pi to the power of 4 e warping the constant by 2l cube plus pi square gj by 2 times el minus p times a. So of course multiplied by a and b will be 0. Okay. So now to find out our buckling loads, so determinant of this matrix has to be vanished. Okay. So determinant has to be 0. So if you find out the determinant of this matrix, you will get our characteristic equation. Okay. So which is slightly complicated because you are having two loads here. Okay, by 2l cube. So you have pi to the power of 4 e, the warping constant is there, by 2l cube plus pi square gj, okay, by 2 times el minus p times a. So this is a very easy determinant because it is a symmetric matrix. Okay, so 0.5362 times w times el plus 0.8668 times p whole square. So this is our matrix, you see, which comes in. So this is our characteristic equation to find out the buckling loads. Now this problem, it is very, you followed, right? It's a very complex because you are having two loads actually. WL is there, then you are having, you see, the critical load which comes from P itself. Now just for the time being, say, okay, so if I denote MCR, okay, as pi by L, that same expression which we wrote for pure bending case, say, EI into GJ and 1 plus this pi square E, this 1, so that GJ into L square. If I denote this as M critical, say, so you can write this expression in some slightly M square CR. So you substitute, say, in this expression. So 4L square minus PA. So pi to the power of 4 EIY by say 2 times L cube. So this right hand side is going to remain same. 5362 WL plus 0.8668 times p whole square. Okay, so this is our equation you have to solve actually, okay, to get our buckling loads. So you can check whether you have got the correct result or not, and then you can try. See, suppose if a is equal to 0, what is the meaning of this expression? If a is 0, what does it tells us? See, what is a here? So here in this case, A comes from this
Load
quantity.
is at centroid.
Load is at the centroid actual. Okay, so you can derive. So when the load is at the centroid, say, so A is equal to 0, then P is also 0, say. Then what does it mean? So you are having only, the uniformly distributed, the load itself. So then, the equation will become very simple. Okay, so pi square MCR by 4L square, say. So this term vanishes. Right hand side also, so 0.5362 times is WL will come. So now you can find out actually. Okay, so WL, the critical load. Okay, so what is the critical load? You can find out is a pi square MCR by 4 into 0.53 62. Oh sorry, I think 2L here. I'm very sorry. No, so if you, I think A is equal to 0, and if you do this one, so 2 times L. Okay, so I think I made a mistake here. So now, so when p is equal to 0, say, so you will get an equation like this, because that square is going, so here you have a square term. So you have to take square root on both the sides. You will get 2 times, the L itself. Okay. And pi to the power of 4 is that, so pi square MCR. So now you can find out, the W, you see this LCR, it's this, critical line, the UDL, or 0.53 times 6 2. So you can compare this, previously we have already solved actually with the UDL, on a simply supported beam, how much is this load itself. So you can try. Okay. So this you can see. Now similar fashion, say we can also compare, when W is equal to 0. Okay. So when W is equal to 0 and A is also 0, say, so which means the concentrated load is also acting at the centroid. We have already solved actually this problem, so where simply supported beam with respect to P, say, we said the maximum bending moment is, PL by 4, and you can find out the P critical, the bending moment also. Okay. So now using these formulas, you can find out, all the critical loads, this way, this is also another way actually of doing the things. And sometimes you follow, right, if you want to find out the roots, say, so you substitute all the EIY, all the quantities, actual length of the beam and the load of the beam, and you can verify, see what should be the load, at which you say this is going to buckle, and it is like a combination of all these loads. So it is basically a two-dimensional problem itself, where you have this as well as this also. Okay. So you can find out, all these things. But generally in practice, what happens is, this weight will be fixed actually. The dead load is, before, because you select a section, say like ISMB, ISJB, already the section and the length is also fixed here. So this portion is already, known to you actually, the dead load which is going to act on your beam itself. So now the only thing is, this is the most important thing is this P itself. Okay. So this problem, say, so WL anyway it will be given to you in many problems, because the dead load will be known beforehand itself. So you substitute the dead load, and then you can calculate your P itself actually, the critical buckling load, how much extra load, this beam is going to carry before, it is going to buckle itself. Okay. So like this, there are several problems are there. Okay. So you can solve for the beam is a T section, say. Okay. So this also you can solve for T section, say what is the buckling load, so the warping constant, all those things are given in some charts are there. Okay. Some tables will be given. So the warping coefficient, then all these things will be given to you. So now you remember to solve these type of problems, say long back we have done the first derivation, you remember. So we have done a section like this actual. Okay. Where we have derived all the equations and other things also. So the all this kind of variety of cross sections is there. So you can substitute, you can get, you followed, right, interesting, the results itself. Okay. So this way you can solve many problems which are of practical things, and you can try. Okay. Variety of the cross sections. Maybe in the assignment, I will give you some, this T section or this one, where you can solve by using our equations of equilibrium or by our energy methods. Okay. So this you can do, or by energy methods is say. Okay. So you can try, with all the things itself. Okay. So you can try and you can solve several problems. So with this, we close our lateral torsional buckling. I think we have discussed, in great detail. Okay. So we have discussed from both the methods. One is from equations of equilibrium. Of course, we derived our equations of equilibrium from, this variational principles. Okay. So you can solve using this equation itself directly. You can get the solution in some type of a problems, or you can use this energy methods also. Okay. So in energy methods also, there are two things. One is, if you are having a concentrated load, say, so work done will be P times deflection, or you write the bending moment diagram multiplied by theta, and then you can get this solutions. Okay. So this closes our lateral torsional buckling itself for the beams. Okay. So this is a very important thing, in codes say. So you have to check actually. Okay. When you are designing any beams, say whether there is any chance of lateral torsional buckling itself. Okay. So with this you follow, right, we are closing our lateral torsional buckling. So as far as this course is concerned, say this is perfectly fine. And the design, there are several textbooks are there you followed, right? So you can follow those, the design things also for lateral torsional buckling. Okay. So now let us see our next unit, that is you followed it, buckling of the arches. So this also is a very, very important. Arches or ring also, you can say. Okay, so how they are going to buckle. How do I find out the buckling loads, say, for an arch? Okay, or for rings and other things, how to find out. Now because arches, right, arches are all classical structures actually. Okay, so in the olden days also you would have seen, right, I think these are the first kind of things. Many times in caves, gives, wherever you go, Ajanta, or old temples or something. So these are very, very important actually. Then there are something like masonry arches, these old classical things, and then stone arches also are there. Okay, so this you will see in all old temples. If you go to Ajanta Ellora, which is the oldest thing, you will see many arch kind of structures are there. These are classical. And nowadays in many bridges, say in Himalayas, if you essentially, if you go to Himalayas in topography, where it is very, very difficult to put a column, and because of so many issues are there. So these arch bridges, they are becoming very popular. Okay, so and of course arch bridges, they look very nice, you follow, right, compared to other type of bridges. So any architectural people also, they prefer this type of arch bridges. Not only in arch bridges, we have arch dams also. Okay, now you followed the dams also. Arch dams you would have seen in our India. Where is an arch dam? Do anybody know where is arch dam located in our India? See, like in Kerala, you followed, right? Some dam is there. You understand? So, which is an arch dam. Okay. So now, so the buckling says, so because so many things are coming, so how to handle this buckling, okay, of arches is a big issue. Okay. Now in arches also, so there are basically two types of buckling are there. One is anyway in plane buckling, we say. Okay. This is in the same plane or whatever we can call. Then other one is for arches also, there is a chance of lateral torsional buckling actually. Okay, so it can also buckle like a beam kind of. I think it may buckle in other direction actually. Okay, so this also may happen. So two types of buckling modes are there. So now let us see the first case, and then we will go to this maybe after some point of time itself. Okay, so now so for arches, so now you have to write the equation of equilibrium. Yeah, so now for arches, okay, what is the equation of equilibrium now? So this we have to derive first. Derive, or anyway, you have already the equations are there. So now in arches, there are basically two types are there. Two equations are there, okay, which are widely used. So one is you followed it, the circular arch we say. Okay. Other one is non-circular kind of like a parabolic arch, some other type of arches, okay, which are not exactly a circular kind of a thing. So something different, or sometimes we also call this as curvilinear arches. Okay, so curvilinear shapes kind of a thing you see we have. So now for circular arches, say the main equation of equilibriums has been this, what Bosnick solution we say. Okay, so BOUSSI NESQ. Okay, so Bosnick's equation we use for circular arches. Now for non-circular arches, we use this Lamb's problem, which are Lamb's equation. You followed. So there are basically two things are there. So circular arch means analysis becomes simple. So this itself is sufficient. It is very, very easy and very, very a straightforward kind of a thing. But if arch is not circular, say parabolic arch or some other complicated the shapes if you are having, then the analysis becomes slightly complex, and the curvilinear properties comes into picture. So we have this famous the Lamb's equation, which is I think fourth order, or you followed it, we will see there's a fourth order ODE or something like that, which we have to solve for this Lamb's equation. So Bosnick is very, very a simple kind of a thing for circular arches. Okay, you would have studied in your undergraduates curved beams, or curved shapes, say like the hooks crane you followed. So that is available in the standard textbooks. Even in mechanics of material textbooks, like essentially if you see this Timoshenko textbook, okay, part 1, part 2, he has strength of materials. So there also he discusses this the arches itself. Okay, so now let us write for a this the circular arches. Okay, so let us see the circular arch. Okay, so the Bosnick's equation. So the first derivation for circular arch was given by Bosnick. Okay, I think he published his paper. So all their papers are available online nowadays because of this internet. Now I think it's a good thing. Okay, so he published in 1883. Okay, this was the first paper actually, and it is published in the Proceedings of the London Mathematical Society. So his paper is available online. You people can download. Okay, the only thing is the paper will be in, you followed it, some other pink color or something, because they are very old documents. Okay, and this Lamb paper also is there. Okay, so this Lamb you followed it, he also published. So this Lamb's also, so this old paper is there. He published, I think, this in 1888. Okay, same journal, Proceedings of London Mathematical Society. Okay. So at that time, this journal was very famous. So whoever used to do research, right? So they all used to publish in Proceedings of London Mathematical Society or Proceedings of Royal Society now. Okay, ABC, many Nobel Prize winners, Einstein's papers are also there in these journals. So if you are interested, even you can go through these papers. Even I remember that Greenhill's paper also, that is for the self buckling say, that was also published in those journals only. Okay, so now let us see this Bosnick's equation. So Bosnick's equation is very straightforward and very simple. So you are having a circular arch. Okay, so let us say you have any nice circular shape, kind of a shape here. So now what it says is, suppose if you take this as A and some points, if you take some B here, and if you take any section, say, okay, so let us say its radius of curvature is the R. You follow. So this is our radius of curvature. So now let us say it is subjected to some type of a load. Okay, and let us say it has gone, so it's a deformed shape actually, is something like this. So deformed shape is also more or less you followed it, a circular shape. Okay, so this is a deformed shape. Okay, so this is a deformed shape, and you take some small section, say here. So if I indicate all the angles, so so this is some theta, this is some theta here. So now if I take a small element, say, so which is some d theta kind of a thing. Okay, because of deformation, it has moved. So if I take any point, say mn, let us say this set point has moved by m1 n1. Okay, so because of the some deformation actually. Okay, so now the r is you followed, right, the radius of curvature. Okay, in undeformed position. So in undeformed position, and let us say we denote rho as radius of curvature in deformed shape. Okay, that is in deformed position. So two radiuses of curvature are there. Okay, so what this Bosnick you followed, right? This shows is it is based on your Euler-Bernoulli theory itself. Okay, so Euler-Bernoulli theory itself, where you followed, right? Euler-Bernoulli, what does it tells us? Euler-Bernoulli theory. Now, what's the relationship between a bending moment and radius of curvature? What's the relationship? And beam theory. See, in the beam, that m by I, E by R, right? The same concept we use here also. You remember m by I, E by R. Of course, sigma by Y will be there. Anyway, we are not interested. So which means you followed it, EI by R itself. Okay. Of course, in our beam theory, say what we do is we replace R with y double dot actually. Okay, sorry, y double dash. Okay, so we neglect that curvature. We expand. We neglect the higher order terms, and then we simply write as EI into U double dash or some Y double dash kind of a thing we try to do. But now since this is an arch say and it is a circular kind of a thing, so that we will not use. So we will use this expression itself actually. Okay. So now so this Bosnick's equation what it says is so EI. Okay. So the new radius of curvature is 1 by rho. The undeformed radius of curvature is 1 by r. So this is equal to bending moment. Okay, so this is what this Bosnick's equation says. So it is based on same Euler-Bernoulli theory itself. So change in your curvature. This is your original and this is a deformed curvature. Say okay. So this is taken as some minus m times. Of course this depends on your sign convention. So this is what you see the this Bosnick equation says actually. So changes in the curvature. Okay. Original curvature, deformed curvature say. So the difference will give you that is basically due to this bending moment kind of a thing. So this comes from your Euler-Bernoulli theory itself. So so this is how we write for an arch. And this is valid only for circular arches, not for parabolic or some other arches say. So this equation is not valid itself. Okay. So now we will write expressions for r and phi itself. Okay. So now if you take this r say, so you have so ds is equal to, you followed it, r times d theta. So d theta by ds actually. Okay, is equal to 1 by r. Okay, so we can write this equation we can use. We can write in terms of angle and then you see the length, that is in the terms of ds. Now similarly we have to write for 1 by rho also, that is a deformed shape. Okay, so now in the deformed shape say, so now what is happening is your theta has also changed, s also has changed. So we write this expression as so d theta plus some correction factors. Okay, by ds plus delta times you see ds kind of a thing itself. Now we have to find out what are these extra things which has to be added for in the deformed position. So if you take that mn say, okay, that small element whatever we have done, so this portion if I zoom up, okay, so this portion, let us say this displacement, so this m has been moved by some w, okay, at the m. So this position you see if I zoom up, so this is our section here. Okay, so this is our section say. So this is our mn. So if I zoom that small portion, it looks something like this. So this is so mn. So this was the original section. Okay, now after deformations, it has become m1 n1 dash itself, and this m point has moved by some w. Okay, in this radial direction. Okay, so now if I draw a tangent here, say, okay, with at this point, so this angle you can easily find out as so dw by ds actually. Okay, that m1 dash. Okay, so this angle. Now what will be the angle at this place? So n1 dash is there. So now what will be the angle here now? So if I draw a tangent here, say, so this angle, okay, so how to find out this angle here? So now and let us say this, if you take it as some small ds kind of a thing, the size of this element. So here the angle is dw by ds. Okay, that is that f of x is dw by ds. Now I want to find out f of x plus h actually. Okay, so that means you have to expand in terms of Taylor series itself. So this angle, say, it becomes, if you write in terms of Taylor series expansion, so you have dw by ds plus d square w by ds square ds, and of course you have the higher order terms. Okay, so if you neglect these higher order terms, say, okay, so you can write this as so dw by ds plus d square w by ds square into ds itself. So that is a change in the angle from one place to another place. Okay, so that is what is we want to calculate through this delta into d theta. Okay,
Sir,
so
what is
this
that angle between?
which one?
The angle dw by ds. What is
Yeah.
it between? It's between the tangent and.
This is a section. See at this m dash point, you draw a tangent, say. So this angle. See, this is
Okay.
a deformed shape. See, you are having two shapes, right? So this is your original shape. You are seeing here. So this is our original shape here, the dark line. So this is a dotted line, say. This is a deformed shape of the arch. Okay. So now at this place, at this m1, you are trying to find out the angle. So how do you find out the angle here? So you draw a tangent. Okay. So that will give you, so dw by ds here. So that is the angle at this place. Now we are trying to find out angle at n1 by this Taylor series expansion.
Okay.
Is it clear?
Yes.
No. And of course, in the Taylor series, you see, you are doing only the first order term. Okay. So this becomes, the delta, d theta. So this extra term, say, so d theta plus delta times d theta. So this is equal to, dw by ds plus, so d square w by using ds square into ds. So which means this extra term, say. So this is d square w by ds square into ds actually. Okay. So this is our the change in the angle. Now we have to find out this delta ds also. Okay. So here of course so we make some lot of approximations here. So now what is the original curvature? Original curvature was r actual. Okay. Now this point has moved by how much? W times. See, now this is a deformed shape. See, now so at this point m, if we m1, if I try to calculate this length, so this is basically r minus w itself is this one. So r minus w say. So then if the angle is d theta kind of a thing, so you can find out this as r minus w into the length m1 n1. Okay. So length m1 n1 is you see r minus w into d theta. Okay. So we write like this. So we are neglecting you followed right. These angles are changing how much the curvature changes or something. So we write m1 n1 as a simple r minus w into d theta itself. And the original thing was r into d theta. Now it is simply you followed r minus w into d theta itself. We write. So now based on this, so your delta ds, that is extra term which comes is minus w into d theta. So this can be written as minus w into ds by r itself, because d theta and r are linked actually. Okay. So now if I substitute all these things, so 1 by rho, so this becomes d theta plus d square w by ds square into ds. Okay, by denominator will be ds into 1 minus w by r itself. Okay, so this is our the change in the new curvature. Okay, the old curvature was r, now this is a curvature. So now you make some simplifications and neglect some higher order terms or something. So this can be written as 1 by r into you see 1 plus w by r. Okay, plus d square w say by ds square. Okay, so some higher order quantities you simplify and then you neglect say some higher order terms Okay, so this is our the new curvature. So now so now you substitute say. So now you substitute. So 1 by rho and 1 by r say in our Bosnick's equation. Okay. So in the Bosnick equation, if we substitute, that is so m ei into 1 by rho minus 1 by capital R is equal to minus m. So substitute all those terms here, and then you do some nice algebra. You will have expression like this: d square w by ds square plus w by r square is equal to minus m by ei. Okay. Or if you want to write in terms of theta, say, because ds r of all of them are linked, so you can write this expression as d square w by d theta square plus w is equal to minus mr square by ei. Okay. So this is a fundamental equation you see for a circular arch. Okay. So for circular arch, say, so you have w is your radial deflection. So it is your radial deformation. I think I should say radial deformation. Radial displacement essentially. Okay. So the radial displacement is given. So now r is the radius of curvature, so this is with respect to the theta. So this is our famous, the Bosnick's equation, which you followed it. Everybody uses for circular arches. Okay. Now suppose if r is infinity, say, what happens to this equation? Can anybody comment? See this equation you see. Tell me, what happens, when r is equal to infinity, the radius of curvature, or when r is infinity. So what does it tells you? What type of arch it is when r is infinity? So when r is infinity, what type of arch it is?
Ordinary column.
Huh?
Column, ordinary column.
Ordinary bar actually. Okay, so when r is equal to infinity, so your arch becomes like your beam itself, just like this. Okay, so when r is equal to infinity, what happens in this expression? So this term, what happens? The second term, See what happens this term when r is equal to infinity. So what happens this term? So this term will go towards
0.
0. Now what happens now? Ds square. What is ds? Ds is anyway the length of your that beam itself. Okay. So now what happens? So this equation goes here. So you followed, right? So this equation collapses to the equation ordinary the beam
Euler-Bernoulli.
d square y by, you remember, dx square is equal to m by ei itself. So this way you can verify whether whatever equation you have derived is correct or not. But what is the problem with this equation? The main problem is it is valid for circular arches, and this equation has come from Euler-Bernoulli. So Euler-Bernoulli, what are the assumptions? You remember? So Euler-Bernoulli beam theory. So what are the fundamental assumptions there? You remember? Plane sections, they remain plane, and plane sections will be perpendicular. You followed it. All those things are embedded behind this derivation itself. Okay, so you have to be very careful. So when I am calling a arch deformation, so what deformation we are talking here? So arch will have this what is that, thickness and width and all other things will be there. But now you followed it. When we do like this, you see the assumption is this is with respect to only the centroidal axis actually. Okay. So whenever we are drawing an arch, it is essentially the centroidal axis. 1 second. This pen. So you are talking about, you see, the centroidal axis. Okay. So this is the meaning is the behind this derivation. So now this is a very interesting kind of a thing for the arches. Now to just make you familiar, you can just solve some classical problems actually. Okay, before going into buckling itself. Now, so this is our fundamental. So now to find out deflection in arches, we use this expression. Okay. So now let us see some interesting the problems. See, like for example, we will see pure bending case. Okay. For an arch, you hope see all of you are looking this arch equation for the first time, or you have already done in your UG or some other course. See, this equation you have solved previously, or it is first time?
First time, sir.
First time only. Okay. See, in our advanced structural mechanics course, which I taught last semester, so there also we have done arches or the circular things. But in advanced structural mechanics, what we do is, we write stress equations of equilibrium. You remember? So we have done these problems, curved beam, curved bar. We have done in our advanced structural mechanics, not in the undergraduate course, but there, we write stress equations of equilibrium, and we write in cylindrical coordinates. You remember, some of you, if you have done the course, I think, the cylindrical, the coordinates. We have written, the Airy stress function. You remember, some A into theta kind of a thing, circular, plate or circular bar or beam, something we have solved, AR square, the cylindrical coordinates. So that is more, accurate kind of a thing, that more thing. But this is very simple. So it is just based on your Euler-Bernoulli beam theory. And just like that you followed it, we write this equations of motion, but everything comes from Euler-Bernoulli. If you want to solve exact, so we have discussed in advanced structural mechanics. So you pick up any book on elasticity, say theory of elasticity by Timoshenko, or any book on advanced structural mechanics. There also arches, not arch essentially, they say like circular beam, curved bar, you have to write in cylindrical coordinates. So dou sigma rr, dou sigma r theta, then rz, all those terms will come into picture. So you solve those equations, you will get the same problem itself. So this equation is more or less very simple kind of a equation. Okay. And now let us see an arch. So which is some arch you have having a arch like this. So this is fixed. One end is fixed, so obviously it is a stable kind of a thing. So this is B and this is A. It's like a quarter circle kind of a thing. Okay. Now, so now it is subjected to pure bending. So bending moment m naught. Okay. Now let us say the radius of curvature. So this is a quarter circle. This is R. Okay. So now you take any section here, say. because you have to write the bending moment diagram. So let us say this is W is this radial deflection here, okay, and let us say the angle is phi. So this is our so now I want to find out the deflection or the displacements, you see, for a circular rod, and this is a uniform circular rod. So this is, you know, a uniform is it the circle? 1 second. Sorry. So this is a, you see, a uniform circular rod. So with a central angle. So generally in the arches, you know, this angle, say, we call a central angle also. That is, you know, the 90 degrees. See, suppose if you are having an arch like this, okay, what is the central angle? See, suppose if you are having an arch like this, say, okay, so here we say central angle is, you see, 180 degrees, okay, the complete from this side to this side. So now this is basically a quarter kind of a circle, so the central angle is, you see, 90 degrees. And now we have to find out our this one. And now what is the bending moment in this arch? There is no load, only it is subjected to a some kind of a constant bending moment. So what's the bending moment in the arch? So what's the bending moment in the arch? So you are having only m0, you followed, right? There is no load on this arch.
Constant throat.
So constant throat, and it is equal to m0 itself. Okay. So now based on the sign convention, you see, so if you take m as you know, the minus m0 here, so now our Bose-Stokes equation. So just to substitute there. So d square w by, you see, d theta square or something, plus you have this w is equal to m0 into r square by ei. Okay, so this is our you know, the Bose-Stokes equation. So now you know, so this is basically a, you know, inhomogeneous equation kind of a thing. So if you want to write the solutions, say, so you have a particular integral, you know, the complementary part and other things will be there. So now the solution can be written as, you know, so a cos phi, a cos theta plus b sine theta here, plus you have this particular integral. So now here, what is the particular integral? See, by this time we should be able to, you know, write itself. So on the right hand side, so it is basically, you know, you are having a constant term. It is not a function of theta. So particular integral also will be, you know, right, you can write as you know, m0 into, you see, r square by ei. So this is our expression. Okay, so now you are having two constants, a and b. So now you have to find out from the boundary condition. So now what's the boundary condition here? See, now we are measuring phi from this side. Okay, so be careful. So from this side, so now you know, what is the boundary conditions here? What are the boundary conditions?
Phi equal to 90, W will be 0.
W will be 0 and this is fixed support, and you have to another boundary condition also, 2, right? A and B constants. So deflection is 0 here, the radial deflection, and because it is simple, it is a fixed end, say. What about its slope?
Will be 0.
That also has to be 0 actually. That's it. So two conditions are there. So when theta is equal to pi by 2, okay. So V is the W is 0, and of course, so this means, you know, so which means your B becomes you know, minus m0 r square by, you know, ei. Okay. Now when phi theta is equal to pi by 2, okay. So dw by d phi. So this also has theta is equal to 0. So which if you substitute, you know, you can find out that a becomes 0 itself. So now the deflection for an arch, say, is, you know, m0 into r square by ei. Okay, 1 minus, you know, sine theta. So this is the deflection, is a radial deflection for an arch. So where will be the maximum deflection? See this arch, where will be the maximum deflection? It is like
equal to 0.
Theta is equal to 0. Okay, so this is something like a cantilever kind of a thing, cantilever arch we say. So theta is equal to, you know, 0. So when you substitute theta is equal to 0, so obviously sine 0 is 0. So this becomes, you know, so W max will be, you see, m0 into r square by, you know, ei. So this is the maximum deflection at the free end. Okay, so you can compare this with your cantilever problem. You remember, for cantilever, when it is subjected to m0, say what was the deflection, what number you are getting. Now for an arch, you know, you can easily calculate. Okay, now similarly, say, so you same problem, so same you know, this arch. Now, since you told you are doing for the first time, let us subject it to concentrated load P. So same problem R, then everything remains same. You know, you take a section here, you see some theta here. So now this is your A and this is B. Now what will be the deflection profile for this arch? So it is also same in a quarter circle kind of a thing. So now how do we write this equation? So you have d square W by d theta square plus W, okay, is equal to M. So that M naught that is there. So now what is the bending moment here? Now at this point, what's the bending moment? So at this section, so what's the bending moment? What's the bending moment here? So let us say this is R here. What will be the bending moment?
R sine phi into P.
R sine theta. Okay, so if you take a, you followed it. So this distance, if you try to find out, so bending moment, your M is you followed. So P times R, sine theta, R sine phi. Okay, so if you substitute in this equation, so this becomes minus M naught into R square by EI. So if you substitute on the right hand side, so your equation will be, so d square W say by d theta square plus W is equal to, so PRQ by EI, okay, sine theta. So this is our equation. So now here also, so you have particular integral, then complementary you followed, right? A portion will be there. Now so you can write the solution as you see A sine phi, sorry, A sine theta plus B cos theta. And now what will be the particular integral here? See here the problem is you are having sine theta also here. So generally the particular integral, if you want to try to find out, say, so you have to write for this type of a problem as the particular integral as you have to assume as some constant, okay, into you see theta into cos theta. You follow, right? You can take a solution like this and you can find out, okay. So it is available in mathematical textbooks, you can see. So the particular integral for this problem is a PRQ by 2EI, okay, theta times cos theta. So this is the one which satisfies our solution, okay. So this is our solution. So now here what are, so now you are having two constants. So now we have to use the boundary condition. So boundary conditions are going to remain same problem. So theta is equal to pi by 2, W is 0, then dW by d theta, that is a slope actual. So this is also equal to 0. So you substitute in these expressions. So B becomes 0, then A. Okay, so A becomes some complicated thing. So P pi RQ by E 4 times EI. So finally, so if you try to calculate, so W is equal to, you follow. So W is equal to P pi RQ by 4 EI 1 minus 2 theta by 5 cos theta. So this is the final deflection for a arch. Okay. Now where will be the maximum deflection? See, the maximum deflection will be at the free end. That is theta is equal to 0 itself. So W max. Okay. So you substitute here in this expression. So cos 0 is anyway 1. So this goes away. So your expression will be P pi R cube by 4 EI. So this is the maximum deflection you followed, right, for a circular arch using our Bosnick's equation. So you can compare this with a cantilever if you are interested, say. Okay. So how much will be the deflection? How much will be the slope you followed, right? And as already I told you, so when R tends to infinity, so when R becomes very, very large, say, so this has to collapse to your, the cantilever problem or, other problems, whatever you have studied in your UG. So the bar becomes this one. So you can just compare, you can try. Okay. So you can compare and you can try to do also. So this way you can solve where you followed, right, several problems. So suppose if you're having an arc like this. Now in the previous case, we have assumed a quarter circle, like let us say, this is a small arch. Okay, so B, and let us say you have the radial load as some P. Now how do you solve? It is not a quarter circle, it is something more general. So the central angle of the arc is gamma. Okay, it's a more general kind of a case we are considering. So this also, everything is straightforward. Okay, so everything becomes straightforward here. So you are a d square W. by d theta square plus w. So this becomes so you have to write our equations here. So this be final, so PRQ by EI sine phi. Oh sorry, yeah, I think I was PRQ by EI into sine phi. So this is our equation. Okay, so the solution can be written as so W is equal to, so same, everything remains the same, A cos theta plus B sine theta minus PRQ by 2 times EI, say, okay, theta into cos theta. But only thing, the boundary conditions will be, so when theta is equal to gamma, because it is not pi by 2, so W is equal to 0 and dW, say, by d theta is equal to 0. Okay, it's like a more general kind of a thing. Okay, so finally, you can write solve all the equations and others. You can write W, which is a function of theta, as PRQ by 2 EI. Okay, so gamma minus cos times gamma sine times gamma into cos phi theta cos theta plus cos square gamma sine theta minus theta cos theta. So this is a general case. Okay, so where the central angle of the arch is gamma, it is not equal to pi by 2. So you can verify when gamma is equal to pi by 2, so this has to collapse to the previous case itself. So this way we can solve very interesting problems on the arches. Okay, so I will stop here. So the next class is so we will start with looking after buckling. Okay, so what will be the buckling load or the critical buckling load of this arch, and then we will also compare this with our Euler-Bernoulli, the standard equations itself. Okay, so fine. So if you have any doubts, you can ask me. And before we close this class, so all of you know, right, tomorrow we have our exam. Okay, so our exam will be, I think, 10 o'clock. I will send you the question paper. So by 11, you people can submit. Of course, I am allowing you plus or minus 10 minutes. Okay, so what you do is you can send me once you have written the questions, all the answers, you just scan it, okay, in your mobile or whatever the things, in a high quality. At least I should be able to see the solution. Don't, the picture should be of good quality. You can make it, and then you can send it to me by email or maybe in the WhatsApp itself. Okay, is it fine?
Sir, are we required to use MATLAB or something for the quiz?
No, nothing to do. Okay, so this is only a general kind of a thing.
Okay.
So the paper will be more or less like problem solving only. Okay, so some derivations, whatever we discussed, right? Some problems. So you have to solve some ODE, and it's an open book. Okay, so all the textbooks, I think all of you are having. So all differential equations also. You just keep it handy. Okay.
Yes.
So fine. So I will stop this.
Okay, we have torsional buckling for example.
No.